As you can see from my designs, the Horizon Tower will redefine the Chicago skyline, Daniel Harrington announced to the boardroom, gesturing dramatically at the sleek architectural renderings projected on the wall. It's sustainable, iconic, and structurally revolutionary. I kept my expression perfectly neutral as I watched my boss present my work to the selection committee from the city's most prestigious development group. My innovative support structure designs, my environmental systems, my distinctive silhouette that harmonized with Chicago's architectural heritage while pushing it boldly forward, all presented as products of his brilliant mind. My name is Alina Chen, and this is the story of how my work on the biggest architectural project in Chicago became the catalyst for justice I never expected. The cantilevered observation deck is particularly inspired, remarked Sandra Reynolds, the head of the selection committee, tracing the graceful curve with her finger on the presentation materials. How did you solve the structural challenges? Daniel's confident smile flickered for just a moment. He glanced at me, seated quietly in the corner taking notes, then launched into a vague explanation about innovative support systems and proprietary stress distribution methods. I suppressed a smile. Those proprietary methods were documented in my personal notebooks with time-stamped digital backups going back 18 months. The same notebooks Daniel had once dismissed as too theoretical for practical application. "We'd like to see more detailed structural specifications," said Reynolds, her keen eyes narrowing slightly, "particularly for the foundation and core support systems." "Of course," Daniel replied smoothly. "My team can prepare those for our next meeting." My team. As if Harrington Architectural Group wasn't a one-man show with a supporting cast that received neither credit nor adequate compensation. As if I hadn't been working 80-hour weeks refining those structural specifications while Daniel attended cocktail parties and networked with potential clients. "Elena will compile everything," he added, nodding in my direction. "She's quite good with the technical details." The meeting concluded with handshakes and promises. The selection committee departed, leaving Daniel almost giddy with anticipated success. "The Horizon Tower is practically ours," he declared, loosening his Italian silk tie. "Elena, I need those structural specifications polished and ready by Thursday, and add some more green elements. They seem to care about that sustainability garbage." I nodded, gathering my notes. The entire support system is actually designed around sustainability principles. The core structural elements incorporate. He waved his hand dismissively. "Just make it look impressive. They don't understand the technical details anyway." But Sandra Reynolds did understand. What Daniel didn't know, what he had never bothered to find out, was that before becoming the most powerful developer in Chicago, Sandra Reynolds had been Dr. Reynolds, structural engineering professor at MIT. My professor. My mentor. The woman who had recognized my talent long before I joined Harrington Architectural Group. And she had definitely recognized my work today, though she'd given no indication beyond a slight raise of her eyebrow when Daniel struggled to explain my cantilever design. That evening, as I worked late in the office refining the structural specifications, my phone buzzed with a text from an unknown number. Asterisk, "When did you design the Horizon support system? The cantilevered elements are unmistakably yours. We should talk. SR asterisk." I stared at the message for a long time before responding. Asterisk, 18 months of development. Everything in the presentation was my design. I have documentation. Coffee tomorrow, asterisk. Her reply came immediately, asterisk Piero's, 7 a.m. Bring your documentation, asterisk. I looked around the empty office, at the walls displaying award-winning buildings, all credited to Daniel Harrington, all designed largely by junior architects who had eventually left in frustration. Many had abandoned architecture entirely after having their work systematically appropriated. I had stayed, meticulously documenting everything, building my case patiently. The Horizon Tower project was different, too significant, too innovative to surrender to someone else's ego. This wasn't just another building, it was a statement about the future of sustainable urban design. The next morning, I arrived at Piero's with a digital portfolio containing 18 months of work, initial sketches, mathematical calculations, progressive design refinements, structural simulations, and even rejected concepts that showed the evolution of the final design. Sandra was already waiting, elegant in a charcoal suit despite the early hour. "I suspected it was your work the moment I saw those cantilevers," she said after we'd ordered coffee. "You were exploring similar concepts in your graduate thesis." I nodded, pulling up my documentation on my tablet. Daniel has presented variations of this design at 3 different competitions and preliminary proposal meetings. Each time, he's taken full credit. Sandra reviewed my extensive records, her expression darkening. "This is comprehensive, and unfortunately, not surprising." Daniel Harrington has a reputation in the industry. "A reputation as a brilliant architect," I said bitterly. "As someone who surrounds himself with talent and then claims their work as his own," she corrected. "But he's never attempted it on a project of this scale." She set down her coffee cup decisively. "The Horizon Tower is a $500 million project that will define Chicago's skyline for generations. We need to be absolutely certain about who's truly capable of delivering it." "What are you suggesting?" I asked. "The selection committee is meeting next week for final technical reviews. Present your documentation, challenge his claim to the design." I shook my head. He'd just say I was working under his direction, executing his vision. That's always his defense. Sandra studied me thoughtfully. "What if we could prove definitively that the design concepts are yours, not his? What if we could force him to demonstrate his understanding of his own supposed design?" A plan began to take shape between us, one that would require precision timing and absolute confidence in my work. By the time we finished our coffee, I knew exactly what I needed to do. Over the next week, I prepared 2 sets of structural specifications. The first contained the actual correct engineering for the Horizon Tower, innovative, sound, and meticulously documented. The second contained subtle but critical modifications that would be immediately apparent to anyone who truly understood the design's underlying principles. The day before the selection committee meeting, I placed the modified specifications on Daniel's desk for final approval. As expected, he barely glanced at them before signing off, too busy selecting his outfit for the presentation to bother with technical details. "These look fine," he said, handing them back. "Just make sure all the sustainability buzzwords are prominent. That Reynolds woman seems fixated on green design." "Of course," I replied, keeping my expression neutral. "I've highlighted the innovative energy recapture system in the building's core." The next morning, the selection committee reconvened in Harrington Architectural Group's conference room. Daniel was resplendent in a custom suit, confident and charismatic as he began presenting his detailed specifications for the Horizon Tower. I waited until he reached the structural core explanation before quietly sliding my tablet to Sandra Reynolds, displaying side-by-side comparisons. My original work, time-stamped and documented, alongside Daniel's presentations where he claimed the same work as his own. Sandra reviewed it silently, then passed the tablet to the other committee members. Their expressions shifted subtly as they realized what they were seeing. "Mr. Harrington," Sandra interrupted Daniel mid-sentence, "could you explain more about the dynamic load balancing in the cantilevered observation deck? Specifically, how your design addresses torsional stress during high wind conditions?" Daniel faltered momentarily but recovered with his usual confidence. "Of course. The cantilevered sections utilize a proprietary system of counterweights and stress distribution channels." "Could you be more specific?" pressed Sandra. "Perhaps draw the primary support structure." Daniel's smile tightened as he moved to the whiteboard. With visible hesitation, he sketched a simplified version of the cantilever support, one that matched the modified, structurally unsound version I had given him yesterday. "That's interesting," Sandra said, "because according to these specifications you signed off on, that design would fail catastrophically in Chicago's wind conditions." The room fell silent. "There must be some mistake in the drawings," Daniel said, glancing at me accusingly. "No mistake," I said, standing up. "Those are exactly the specifications you approved yesterday. The actual functional design, the one I originally created, looks like this." I moved to the whiteboard and quickly sketched the true support structure, explaining the mathematical principles behind its stability as I drew. "This is ridiculous," Daniel sputtered. "Alana works under my direction. Any designs she produces are company property." "That's true," I acknowledge. "But the question isn't who owns the designs, it's who created them, who understands them, and who can actually deliver this project successfully." Sandra handed Daniel a complex structural problem related to the building's core. If this is your design, you should be able to solve this issue immediately. Daniel stared at the problem, his expression shifting from confidence to confusion to barely concealed panic. I don't have time for pop quizzes, he said finally. My credentials and portfolio speak for themselves. They certainly do, Sandra agreed. But I think we need to understand exactly who has been doing the speaking. She turned to me. Ms. Chen, would you care to solve this problem? I stepped forward and worked through the complex structural calculation methodically, explaining each step. When I finished, the committee members exchanged glances. I think we've seen enough, Sandra said. Mr. Harrington, the selection committee will need to reevaluate your firm's proposal in light of this. Clarification about design authorship. As the committee filed out, Daniel turned on me, his face contorted with rage. You're fired. Clear out your desk immediately. I don't think that would be wise, came Sandra's voice from the doorway. She had returned without the other committee members. Not when Ms. Chen is clearly the architectural mind behind the project. We're considering for a $500 million contract. She handed me her card. Elena, the committee would like to see a revised proposal. One that accurately credits the design team. We can wait a few weeks if you need to make alternative arrangements. The implications were clear. The selection committee was still interested in the Horizon Tower, but not with Daniel Harrington at the helm. 3 weeks later, I sat in a different conference room in a different office. Chen's sustainable design had been incorporated in record time, backed by several investors who had been following my work for years, though they had believed it was Daniel's until recently. With me came 5 other architects from Harrington's firm, all with similar stories of appropriated work. Across the table sat the selection committee reviewing our revised proposal for the Horizon Tower. The design is even stronger now, Sandra remarked, studying the refined specifications. You've enhanced the sustainability elements considerably. Those were always part of my vision, I explained, but they were deemed too expensive and too experimental previously. By Harrington? Yes, he preferred more conventional approaches that would be easier to pitch. Sandra closed the proposal folder. The committee has made its decision. Chen's sustainable design will be awarded the contract for the Horizon Tower, subject to financial verification and insurance requirements. After the committee departed, my new team celebrated, still somewhat shocked by our sudden change in circumstances. As the champagne flowed, my phone buzzed with a news alert. Harrington Architectural Group files for bankruptcy, multiple clients withdraw projects. I showed it to Maya, my former colleague and now partner. That was fast. Not surprising, she replied. Once clients realized he couldn't actually design the buildings he was pitching, everything fell apart. And apparently he's being sued by 3 former clients who suspect their buildings weren't properly engineered. Were they? Oh, we made sure they were sound, Maya assured me. We just never got credit for it. 6 months later, I stood at the groundbreaking ceremony for the Horizon Tower, hard hat in place, gold-plated shovel in hand. Cameras flashed as I turned the first soil on what would become Chicago's most innovative architectural landmark. The journey from that boardroom where I had quietly watched Daniel present my work to this moment had been extraordinary. Chen's sustainable design had grown to a team of 20, with a portfolio of pending projects focused on environmentally progressive urban solutions. Daniel Harrington had left Chicago, his reputation in tatters after multiple former employees had come forward with similar stories of appropriated work. His name had become cautionary tale in architectural circles. As I addressed the gathered crowd and press, I thought about all the other talented people whose work was being stolen by those with more power, more connections, or simply more audacity. My final words at the microphone weren't just about the building we were about to construct. The Horizon Tower represents more than sustainable design or architectural innovation. It represents the principle that true creativity deserves recognition, that excellence shouldn't be hidden, and that the future belongs to those who actually build it, not those who merely take credit for it. That evening, as I reviewed finalized construction plans in my office, a delivery arrived, a framed architectural blueprint of my graduate thesis project, the conceptual design that had eventually evolved into the Horizon Tower. With it was a note from Sandra. Asterisk, the best designs stand the test of time. The best designers ensure that truth does too. Chicago's skyline will be better for both. Sorry, asterisk. I hung the framed blueprint on my office wall, the first of many visible reminders that sometimes justice in professional life doesn't come from confrontation or accusation. Sometimes it comes from simply being so thoroughly prepared, so completely certain of your own work, that when the moment of truth arrives, all you need to do is calmly demonstrate your expertise and watch as those who try to claim it stumble over the very details they should have understood. The Horizon Tower rose floor by floor over the next 2 years, its distinctive silhouette gradually becoming part of Chicago's iconic skyline. Each beam, each structural element, each sustainable system represented not just architectural innovation, but a testament to persistence, documentation, and the power of knowing your own worth. And on the small plaque in the completed building's magnificent lobby, beneath the name of Chen Sustainable Design, was the Latin phrase I had insisted on including: asterisk veritas in architectura asterisk, truth in architecture. Because sometimes the greatest revenge isn't about destroying someone else's career. It's about building your own legacy so undeniably, so excellently, that those who try to diminish you become footnotes in a story of success they couldn't steal.